Hello, everybody. My name is Jack McCullough. I'm the president and founder of the CFO Leadership Council, and I'm really excited that you've decided to join our community. I have a presentation that'll follow in a moment that'll cover some of your member benefits, which I think you'll be surprised how robust they are. It's a presentation will cover everything that you'll need to know about the organization, almost, but inevitably you'll have questions. And if you do, if you haven't figured it out already, I'm really easy to reach. You can certainly send me an email to jack@cfolc.com, or you can text me at 617-678-0957. And if you're really old school, you can even give me a call at the same number. Anyway, I'm going to get into the presentation. So before we start the actual benefits, just a little about the organization. Our mission from the beginning has been simply to empower CFOs. And we'll describe in a moment how exactly it is that we do that. But historically, the group was founded by myself and a bunch of my friends who are fellow CFOs in the Boston area in 2006. And we simply were looking for a pair of networks. My own story at the time, it was my first ever CFO job. And I just was looking for people that I could commiserate with, share knowledge, gain insights, and become more effective at my job. Today, we have more than 2,500 members around the globe, although more than 90% of them are in the US and Canada. But it's truly a global organization that far exceeds the original vision I had for the company. And no matter how you define diversity, whether it be by demographics, company size, industry, or whatever, I think you're going to find, and I'm very confident in saying this, we are the most diverse professional association for financial leaders anywhere in the world. In this presentation, we're going to break it into three areas. The first is education or professional development. Then we're going to talk about the community, which I think is the most important part of the CFO Leadership Council. And then finally, we'll talk about some of the resources that are available to you. And there are four parts to the educational process at the CFO Leadership Council. The first is local programs. These are supported by national events. And then we have the CFO Insight Series. And we'll also discuss the fact that we offer CPE for those of you who need that for your educational requirements. Let's chat a little about education to start. Local programs. This really is the heart and soul of the CFO Leadership Council. We right now have 33 chapters as of the time of this recording, and we have plans to add 4 more across the country within the next 12 months. What that means is that each chapter has between 6 and 8 programs per year. That is a local decision. And the local team, which is comprised of CFOs who volunteer to do so, and our strategic partners who bring a level of expertise to it. And they craft what I guess I'll call a curriculum for the local CFOs. What we've learned is the CFOs in Silicon Valley might have different needs than those in Detroit, Michigan, who again have different needs from those in Boston. So that's why it's so important that the programs are developed locally. The way we do it, again, it's a local decision, but we typically offer a great mix of options for our professional development programs. By far the most important is panel discussions, but we also bring in keynote speakers, fireside chats, and even workshops across a whole range of topics, again, that are picked on a local level. So it's a great chance to learn things that you need to know and to build your network at the exact same time. I also want to talk a little about our national events. And the cornerstone is we have 2 national conferences per year. The first one pretty much has taken place in Boston, Massachusetts every year since the beginning. And then we have a second one out west, although this year out west is defined as Austin, Texas. So we can quibble about whether that's the West or not. But these are really wonderful events. In fact, they get a lot of media coverage. Not only is there great professional development, but, I would say there are a lot of conferences that offer great professional development to financial leaders. I like to think we're the best, but I know a lot of people feel the same way. And it's just an amazing experience. I highly encourage you to go. And I think we have great content in our conferences. In fact, I know we do. I'll be happy to put our content against anyone. But the reality is there's a lot of great content out there for CFOs and their teams. What really separates our events, our conferences from other organizations' conference is our community. I like to say, come for the content, stay for the connections that you'll make. And that's very true. In fact, the 2 publications, they attend all of the CFO conferences. And one of them described ours as, they said, it's more like a family reunion than it is like a business function, which I thought was kind of cool. And that was CFO Dive. And then a reporter from CFO Brew said that we set the world record for hugs at a financial conference. And again, the content's world-class, but that just shows the power of our community. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Aside from the conference, in 2022, we launched FATE, which is the Finance and Accounting Tech Expo. And that has become the largest event of its kind in the United States. It's an amazing event. We have about 1,600 people attend. And it's all of the leading thought leaders in technology who are there to educate CFOs about their technology offerings and make decisions. It's an incredible event. Free to members, and not only free to members, but if you can't make it, and we know CFOs maybe don't want to spend 2 or 3 days at a technology conference, you can send an unlimited number of your team members to go in your place. So we highly encourage that you go to at least one of the conferences, and FATE if you can't make the conferences. But even if you still can't make FATE, send a team member. Another event that I'm really proud of is the CFO Insight Series. And we offer these once a quarter. And what they are, we bring in outside experts who will do a deep dive into the most critical challenges that you're facing in your role as a CFO. It's done quarterly, some of the best names in the game, and the topics are spot on. Some recent ones have been about generative AI. That's kind of a given. We also recently had one that was really successful, how CFOs build their bonds with CEOs, how to get a board seat, how to work with boards of directors. The next one coming up is on financial transformation. So these are really cutting edge technologies, and we bring in some of the best thinkers in the world to talk about why they're important. And then a little nod, as a former CPA, our organization does offer CPE. So if you go to, say, one conference and half of your events and some of our webinars, which we'll get into earlier, it's very easy to get 25, 30 CPE per year from the CFO Leadership Council. In fact, if you're in, I think, if not all states, most states require 40 years per year. If you're really determined, you can get all 40 from the CFO Leadership Council. So those of you who are CPAs are similar, as I once was. I think this is a great opportunity for you to stay current. Let's chat a little about the community, and that's maybe the thing that I'm most proud of. Let's kick off with the mentorship program. And the membership program is comprised of 2 parts. The first is a standard mentorship program where we pair an up-and-coming or future financial leader with a more experienced member. And they match them up. We encourage the mentee to take the lead in making the relationship. But they match up based upon interest, whether it be someone who's in the local community, worked with similar company sizes, the same industry, wherever it might be. But we have about 300 sets of mentees and mentors in our community right now. So if you're looking to find a mentor, we have a database of veterans who volunteered to be part of this. Supplementing that, we have quarterly sessions on their panel discussions done over Zoom, and we'll have 3 or 4 of our members talk about things. It's in the spirit of things that I wish I knew when I was the first-time CFO. So, for instance, the last one we did was, so it could be things like blending strategic and tactical, learning to let go of the day-to-day, how to present at board of directors meetings. These are things that our veterans will share with the up-and-comer, the next generation of financial leaders, as we like to call them. And I think as you either get your first CFO job or you're already in it and you're learning as you go, I think you will find these to be invaluable. Also, a big part of our community is our local networking. Again, it's a local decision, much like the programming is, but chapters typically meet 2 or 3 times per year. And there's no outside speakers, there's no agenda, there's nothing except a chance to get to know your fellow members, commiserate, and sometimes over a few drinks. And to judge by those pictures, I think it looks like I need to spend more time in the San Francisco Bay Area, because all but one of them were taken at our San Francisco chapter. But really, it's just a fun thing to get to know each other both as people and as business leaders. Highly recommend you take advantage of that opportunity. And then the CFO Solution Series. This kind of came about by accident, but a member reached out to me and she wanted to speak anonymously to the group. And her concern was she was positioned to become the CFO of her company, but she was passed over by the board of directors. She was the controller at this company, and she didn't even get a chance to interview for it. And she just really didn't understand why. Another CFO around the same time reached out, and his CEO said that he wasn't a CFO, he was a glorified controller or a glorified accountant. So I shared this with the community, and a bunch of the members said, yeah, we need to talk about this as a group rather than do this over email. And from that, the CFO Solution Series was born. And as you look on the screen, you'll see that some of the topics that we've done recently are on there. I won't read them, but you can. But these are all things, these are real life scenarios that our members faced and wanted help from the community. And they're my personal favorite events to attend, partly because we get 225 CFOs to sign up. So it's so dynamic, we need to break out into smaller groups. And I just love that excitement. But also, it's just a feeling of pride that our members have nothing to gain from this. They don't even know who the member is reaching out for help because he or she is anonymous. But they're part of a community and they're taking that very seriously. They see a member needs help and they're willing to give up an hour, hour and a half of their time to give up that help. So it's really a wonderful and powerful thing. And also the last part of the community is the Mastermind series. And this, like most of our ideas, was done at the suggestion of our members. In fact, it was a group of CFOs from the nonprofit sector. They approached me wondering if I could set up a virtual group for the nonprofits across our 33 chapters. And it's an easy enough thing to do. And the reason they wanted that is they felt like a lot of the local programming was geared more towards corporate CFOs. And, perhaps that's a valid observation. So we decided to create a mastermind series for nonprofit CFOs. And the idea has really caught on. We have about 14 mastermind groups now. They're all listed below. But these are one of the few things where it's members only. We don't bring in outside speakers unless they ask me to. We don't let the sponsors attend. It's just members talking to each other about the challenges they face and the opportunities they have. It's really powerful, some great discussions. They're supposed to go for an hour. We don't stop it if they want to go. So we've had some mastermind sessions that have gone, an hour, hour and a half. Usually an hour is good enough. But, when you join our community, I'd highly encourage you to find a mastermind group or two and get involved with that community. It's really going to enhance your learning and networking experience. Let's chat a little bit about resources. And the first one is probably our most popular member benefit. We call it CFO Connect. It's a simple Gmail group. But again, this is the other thing that our sponsors are not allowed to participate in. It's members to members only. And what happens is if a member has a problem, he or she can send it to the group and 2,500 people will be able to read it and offer advice. So unless the problem is extraordinarily rare, with 2,500 people, at least a few of them have been through this situation before. And you can get some great advice no matter what the question you have is. In fact, the biggest complaint that we get about CFO Connect is that there are too many valuable responses to it, which, if that's the worst thing someone can say about it, that's a pretty good thing. But if you're not already on CFO Connect, reach out to your chapter director and we'll get you on it. We know that's a thing that's very valuable and that you're going to love. Let's talk about the tools library. And these are really cool. We created a tools library about a year ago, and there are about 300 tools in there. And these are all sorts of papers that were created by members for members, basically CFOs helping each other. And the content is simply incredible. Job descriptions and other career type templates, financial models and calculators, all sorts of checklists that you can think of, a lot of policies and procedures manuals, strategic planning tools. You get the idea. And they're available at your fingertips. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel every time you need something. So, if you want to write a generative AI policy memo, there's one in there. If you're looking to hire a controller for the restaurant business, there's a controller restaurant business job description in there. It's an amazing resource, and I hope you'll take advantage of it. And then we have some phenomenal resource reports as well. Some of you may know I sold the company to the chief executive group a few years ago. And I really liked owning the company. But, I always make decisions through the lens of what's in the best interest of the members. And my feeling was that the content that was available through the chief executive group was phenomenal. And this was a chance to bring this content to our members either for free or at a substantial discount. And it's the type of content I'm simply not capable of creating and our community is not capable of creating. So we have a must-read CFO Confidence Index. It's a quarterly pulse of US-based CFOs. And they tend to be, CFOs, as it turns out, are better at forecasting the future than economists or almost anyone else is. So, you'll definitely want to read that. We have what I think is probably the best compensation report for private businesses. It's certainly the best one I've ever seen. And for those who know me, I wouldn't say that if I didn't think it to be true. It's a really great report. That, as a member, you can get that at a substantial discount. I believe the executive summary of it is available for free to our members. We have all sorts of financial benchmarking reports that are available and dozens of white papers on an array of topics for modern financial leaders. So there's just some amazing resources that are available to you. And then the last one that I want to talk about is our member directory. And why this is important is a lot of people don't even know that it exists. So it's a pretty standard tool. You can go to the member portal, which if you don't have access to, just ask. But you can look up member directory, and then let's say if you want to meet a technology industry CFO or a life science industry CFO from Boston, you can just put in a couple of criteria and pop. You'll get, depending on what your criteria are, you'll get, several CFOs who meet that criteria. And, we're a very friendly group. If you want to network with them, just reach out. They almost always say yes. But it's a great way to get in touch with people who share a commonality with you and really continue to develop that network of your peers. So that's the end of the presentation. I hope you got something out of it. I realize I'm not the most articulate fellow in the world. Did the best I could. But let's keep in touch. My phone information's there. You'll also probably want to follow me on LinkedIn as well. I share some really good content there. And I look forward to meeting you at a future meeting. Thanks for paying attention, and take care.